Creative Solutions. So Cindy Hedge just walked in. You are the founder of that group, correct? And we have Bill. Bill is over here behind the camera. And we have Pat. Where did Pat go? Right there. Do we have anybody else in the room that maybe I haven't met yet? Cindy's over here. Okay, so we have other great board members, and they have been doing events actually since last week already. One whole side of this card is done, but the good news is we're just at the top of the second side. So do you have any more of these, Cindy? No?
No, but they can go to our website.
You can go to the website, yes, exactly. And that's on the handout that Nancy put together. She put on your website, so you can get the full schedule. But they're doing a lot of great events, and it's all around this particular week, this World Creativity Week. So this is a little bit about me. I'm not going to tell you all the stuff because Nancy did a pretty good job of saying, I guess I'm kind of obsessed with environment. And yes, I don't have any kids of my own, so the environment is kind of my kid, and my projects are my kid. I actually said that to my husband when we consciously decided, or we figured out we're not going to have kids. I'm like, don't think we're going to be dinks, because I am going to have projects as kids. So these are my kids, right up here. Indiana master naturalist, master composter. I don't have a master's degree of any kind, but I have. I'm going to be taking the master urban farming training with Nancy and a couple other people in the room. So that'll be fun. So Center for Creative Solutions, my very first involvement with them was this time last year. Cindy reached out to me and asked me if I would like to be part of this week. And gosh, when you know there's a week called World Creativity Week, I didn't see how I could turn that down because I love creativity. That sounded so fun. And the name of the organization, the Center for Creative Solutions, I mean, who doesn't like that name? I loved it. So I said yes. So the way that I met Cindy is through the Society of Innovators, and Bill over here behind the camera is the one who nominated me for the Society of Innovators, which I have to say was really on my bucket list. It was such an honor, and kind of a sad thing though, after 13 years in existence, they are actually not going to be in existence anymore. They just kind of couldn't get the funding. So to me, it's great, it's an honor to have been in it, but that also tells me we have to pick up the torch. We have to close that gap that might be left in our region where those innovators were coming together under the umbrella of Ivy Tech and the funding that they got from their various sources. So I think it's all the more urgent that we step up. A couple of these other things I'm just going to kind of broad brush right now. It'll make more sense later. All right, so one of the workshops that Cindy's group does outside of World Creativity Week is called Dream Big. And I went to a workshop in September called Dream Big, and I got this nifty little notebook, and you might think, well, how is that very related to environment or whatever? But guess what my dreams are about? Environmental solutions. And so I'll tell you what, I wrote down my dreams. Here it is, 9, 8, 17, and that's the page right up there. My fifth thing, or sixth thing, was meet Starhawk. Has anybody ever heard of Starhawk? She teaches this class, usually out in California or somewhere really far away, called Earth Activist Training. And I had been wanting to go, but it was usually like thousands of dollars. I couldn't afford it. And she wrote this book. Maybe if you don't know her name, have you ever heard of The Fifth Sacred Thing? This has been one of my favorite books for like 20 plus years. So she's not your favorite, she's my hero. She was totally on my bucket list. I did not know how that was going to happen, but look, I wrote it down in here. Not 5 months later, there I am on the left with not only Starhawk, but also another woman that I met along the way. I didn't meet her. She lives in England, so it was even more unlikely that I would meet her. But her name is Luby McNamara, and she wrote this book called People and Permaculture. Anybody heard of permaculture? Show of hands if you've heard of it. Okay. And do you usually think that's about growing vegetables?
Yes.
And it is. It's a portmanteau, and I love that word. It means smashed up, two words together. Permanent plus agriculture, but also permanent culture. So people are a culture, right? So it's not just about plants, it's about people and how people can work together. So these two ladies are two of the only people that I'm aware of in the world that are currently teaching social permaculture. And the planets aligned for them to be teaching a 3-day workshop that I got to go to in Oakland, California in January. And they were both in my Big Dream book. So I'm telling you what, if you're looking for volunteer time, you go to this lady and she'll let you dream big. So back to the people permaculture, I kind of like to use this little analogy. For those of you that know about permaculture, you might know that plants do better in guilds. Is that a familiar concept? Plants planted together rather than like a whole field of corn, which is monoculture. Permaculture usually encourages diversity. So I got beans, squash, and corn. This is like the trifecta called the Three Sisters. And these sisters, these plants all live better together in one spot than they could individually in monoculture. The corn provides a natural trellis for the beans. The beans can climb up that corn stalk, so you don't need to buy a trellis. The beans can fix nitrogen from the air that neither the corn nor the squash is capable of getting. They feed it to their other two sisters, and then the squash provides kind of a natural mulch and also weed suppressant and keeps the roots cool for the other two sisters.
Above the rainwater.
Yes.
The leaf becomes
Exactly. So they work better together. So I love that. I am actually one of 3 sisters myself, so I probably really like that. I don't probably always get along with my 2 sisters as well as corn, beans, and squash, but I love them, and we do definitely help each other out. So I love that. And I've been trying to learn how to do social permaculture because in late November, I also started a job with a company called Valpo Next. It's not a company, it's a nonprofit. It's only 10 to 15 hours a week. And this has some environmental initiatives out of 43 initiatives that are part of a 30-year vision plan. And I am the only paid employee and it's 10 to 15 hours a week. So I'm like, how am I going to get people to do what I want to help the environment in Valpo, plus all the other stuff that's in here? That was going to be a trick. So I'm like, I have got to get myself to California. So that was very motivating. What you're seeing here is actually page 46 of this book. And I have gotten in trouble with some people for saying, this is my favorite book, the Bible, also good. It was good. But day to day, this is the one I actually go to, page 46, to tell me how to get along with people. You know, when you don't want a lot of thous and thys and you just want to get right to it, this would probably save a marriage. This would probably help your bottom line and work. I mean, I'm telling you what, page 46 alone is worth it for this book. So, that's out there, and I've got it on a handout that I'm going to pass out pretty soon that you guys are going to hopefully get time to play around with a little if time permits. But basically, it tells you how to solve a problem starting with a vision. So because this is Green Drinks combined with the Center for Creative Solutions, I think for tonight we can come together for a shared vision of creative solutions for the environment. Does that seem like a reasonable idea? I'm all about the Venn diagrams, and to me that seems like a perfectly logical intersection of those two. Okay, so that's what I'd like to play around with for that design web. And why, what does this have to do with United Nations? If anybody saw that on Facebook, did you guys get that? That now World Creativity Week is actually recognized by the United Nations because they actually saw that there's a real need for us to get creative if we're going to figure out sustainability solutions. So I think that is fabulous. This was the first year that they recognized it. And I love this too. If you dig down on their site, they talk about the wealth of nations. I was actually an econ major, so when I hear like wealth of nations, that means some book from the 1800s or something. But what they're talking about here is really what I've come to learn is the true wealth of nations, which is about the social capital of working together. How can we be like the corn, beans, and squash and work together to make things happen in a really sustainable way? And then they also talk about creativity and culture. We have, you've got your space right in the Uptown Arts District. Sarah here is a gifted musician. I know we've got, art and creativity, whether that's what you do for a living or that's just, what you bring. We're all creative in some way. These are all the countries that are in it. I think that there are like 50-something now involved this year, which is just really lovely. So we're not going to get all into that, but if you want to go and visit the UN site, it'll tell you more about how it got to be. And the woman who has a TED-type talk there, she went to the same what's that place called in Buffalo that you go to?
International Center for Studies and Creative.
Isn't that amazing that there's an International Center for Change Studies and Creative Leadership? Okay, so that woman was also inspired by her studies there, and she influenced the UN to bring about this thing. So when I published the event, this is all I had to go on was, hey, the UN has these 17 sustainability goals. And I thought, okay, well that seems pretty good. Thanks, UN. You know, this is pretty good. I can take this and run with it. But as it happens, because of all my tentacles out there in the world, I actually got something better than that we can play with. And I am just so excited about this next solution that I want to share with you. I've been working with the Pachamama Alliance as a volunteer for a couple of years. Just show of hands again. Is anybody familiar with Pachamama Alliance? Wow, really? Okay. You guys, this is a cool thing. This is kind of like the next step of your environmental education that you can take from your armchair at home. It's free. You can take it online or by phone. They're based out of San Francisco. And what I really like about their mission is that it's threefold. They're out to create a more environmentally sustainable, socially just, and spiritually fulfilling world. And you might just think, what? This is green drinks. What's Kathy up here preaching, about this for? But really, it is kind of like a three-legged stool. If you don't have one of those things, people kind of lose their juice for it. If it's just, people are bad, we don't belong here, hug a tree, but people terrible, that, you're not going to get a lot of people that are going to, be sustainable for wanting to help you heal the planet, right? So they've really taken some time to address all three of these things and weave them in together. When I found them 2 years ago, I was just so excited. They've got a program called the It's Up to Us Engagement Pathway, and anybody at any time can go and take the Awakening the Dreamer program. I gotta think you guys are probably woke because you're here. You're investing your time talking to me and listening to me. But for people who are, I'd say more than what it is about awakening to trying to help heal the planet, it's what is mine particularly to do. Because I know, it's the funniest thing. Sometimes I'll get emails from Nancy at like 3 in the morning. My other enviro friends, we all seem to be sending messages at like 2 to 3, 4 in the morning. And it's like, oh my gosh, we need to be sustainable. We need to have self-care. We need to be, protect ourselves. So anyway, Pachamama Alliance, I think that they bring that spiritual thing in there and kind of say, take a chill pill. You're in it to win it. What can you do personally that is yours to do? You don't have to do every single thing. Think of what you need to do. And at the end of this latest program that I went through, the next step in the engagement pathway is called the Game Changer Intensive. So that takes a little bit longer to go through. The Awakening the Dreamer is just like 3 or 4 hours. You knock it out all in one day. The Game Changer is like 10 weeks. And so it's some self-study, and then you meet in small groups over the phone. And now I know people in Australia and Brazil and everywhere, all over the world, that all care about this stuff. And it's just really delightful and interesting to form that network. There's an online forum as well where you can share a lot of information. This program that you're seeing on the right is called Project Drawdown. Has anybody heard of that? All right, I'm kind of happy, you guys, because I'm bringing you some new stuff you know about it. Okay, Paul Hawken. Paul Hawken is the author of this, and he is also the gentleman who wrote Blessed Unrest. Does that ring any bell at all? Blessed Unrest is that feeling when you're like, you got that fire in the belly, but it's not an ulcer. Like you want to get up and save the environment, but you're not up at 3 in the morning. You can still sleep. You can still breathe, you can make peace with the world. So I think that this gentleman is really onto something. What Project Drawdown is, it's nothing that he invented. He just did some very good scientific study, gathered some data for solutions that are already in existence, and there are 80 of them. So there are 80 solutions that are up on their website that you can sort by sector, you can sort by rank, all of this. And I know that's probably really small to read, but do you know what the number one is? Refrigerant management. So that household waste collection, it's actually a really good thing to look at, because if you have refrigerant in the landfill or whatever, that could be a really big problem. Number 2, wind turbines, okay, onshore. I don't probably have the cash to go out and buy that like today, but number 3 is reduced food waste. So that's kind of the one I wanted to play with just to get the ball rolling, because I think any of us in the room could play with that. And there are 80, so it goes on and on and on. And I have the handout so you can look that up and find out. The solutions by sector, I'm just going to read you top level what those are. Electricity generation, so obviously renewables. Food, beyond reducing food waste, this one's kind of dovetail, composting, because then you're not having food waste, right? And look at this. This is kind of this is just natural happening. I bought a composter for this lovely lady because it was a great deal at Bailey's, and then it's just brought this up in the room, you know? So she's helping me out. Yeah, so there's women and girls. Actually, education of women and girls. There are all kinds of things that have to do with that, and it just blew my mind that that could help with climate change, but it's really cool. Buildings and cities, land use, transportation, materials, and more to come. So very cool to shop around and find those things that you really can do. Since we're all people and we all eat, and you guys are bearing witness to that right now, because I see some French fries and beer, so we're doing that. It's an essential human activity. We all do it, and we talked about how important it is to support local and support organic. And so some of the solutions I'm going to show you are actually going to leave you with more money in your pocket so that you can go to this gentleman's shop, or you can go to your favorite farm stand in the summer. You can support more local and organic. So it's kind of a win-win. Reducing food waste. You never see a crooked carrot at the regular grocery store. Where does all that ugly vegetable, where do they go, right? There's now a nonprofit in Chicago, and I think it's called Ugly Fruit. So they are trying to address that and do something with it. Do they? Awesome. And then has anybody seen the documentary Wasted with Anthony Bourdain? That was pretty good. He's kind of putting his sarcasm and his edginess to good use, but I thought it was pretty good. And he does this food recovery pyramid, so source reduction. It's like grow the food that people actually want where they're going to eat it. Hello, that makes sense. And then feed hungry people, like don't throw it in the garbage. Feed people with stuff that you can still use. And I'm going to segue really, really fast because I have props that I just can't stop showing. I want to know, I'm going to show you guys a few things. Pea milk, has anybody ever tried pea milk? Do you carry this? Pea milk? No. Yep, would you like to try it? Guess how much I pay for that?
What is it?
It's milk made from peas, and it's actually quite delicious. You might not think so. It's milk, or a milk-like product, made from peas. P-E-A-S.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I heard peas.
I know. It's fun to say. It's fun to say when you say pea milk. You can muster up all kinds of crazy things. And then, have you ever seen this Icelandic yogurt in the grocery store?
Yeah.
Do you know how much it is usually?
$3.
Kind of pricey.
Yeah, do you know how much this was? Here, pass it around, think about it. Okay, I'm just going to cut to the chase. That was zero. That was zero, okay? This was 50 cents. And by the way, if you want any of these things, take it, because it was zero, okay? You know where I got those things? I got those things at a place called a salvage grocery store. It's called the Indiana Hope Center down in Groverton. And what they do is they work with grocers like Trader Joe's and other big chains throughout the Chicagoland region. And they keep that stuff out of landfill and take it to this place. Or if a semi breaks down on the road and they never make it to their intended destination, they'll take it to this place. They get it either for free or pennies on the dollar. Sometimes it's either at expiration, but I gotta tell you, if I went through my pantry, it would be expiration. Okay, this I didn't get at the store. Does anybody know what these are?
Ramps.
Sarah knows. Ramps, exactly. If you've never had a ramp, do yourself a favor. Pass this around, take a little bit. It's what Chicago is named after, by the way. Chicago.
Stinky onions.
The onion. Yeah, the onion. It's ramps, okay? So a friend of mine had them growing in her yard. She knows I love them. She just brought me a bag of them. get the idea. I am thinking outside the box. I am, going down to the salvage grocery. It's a little far, granted, maybe 35 minutes. But guess what? When I go there, I don't go there just for me. I pick up groceries for my friends, neighbors. I got this composter while I was down there. I got 3, so I kind of planned my trip to do more good for more people.
Where is this?
It's in Groverton, on Highway 30. It's about the only thing in Groverton, so if you
Pretty
can
much,
find
yeah.
Groverton,
Okay.
you're going to be doing just
South
great.
side.
Yeah. So what I thought we could maybe look at, and you can definitely pick another objective, but I thought reducing food waste is probably something we can all do. So I thought maybe it would be fun to divide up by table. I'm going to give you a copy of that design web and just see if we can kind of play with it a little bit. The thing I really love is that you do not have to do this in it's a web. It's not a clock. You don't have to go linearly or in a circle or whatever. So the design web is on one. The project drawdown initiatives are on the other. And if you don't like food waste, if you're really knowledgeable about another initiative, then you can pick another one. Because I know you know about reforestation and all kinds of other good stuff. So you do not have to pick that. If you guys, I don't know if you want to play along, but you might want to join up with somebody else, or you can just do your own thing. Okay, here you go. Here you go. We're going to get interactive. We're going to come up with so this might be a little hard for you guys to share. This is really wonderful, actually, that we have more people than I anticipated. But I can also kind of read that up there. I know we're not going to have all kinds of time to really do this, but anybody who signs up on the list, or if you just want to give me your card, I will send you the whole slide deck and all that jazz. But here's how it works.
They're not where we can pick up.
With a vision. My vision is for a healthier planet where I personally don't waste as much food.
County Park.
So that's at the top of the dial, basically, the vision. So you allow yourself to dream and create goals, right? After that, you kind of think, well, what can help me? How could I get there? So I'm just giving you one, right? The Hope Center is kind of a fun one. If you know a friend that has woodlands in their yard, maybe you could learn some wild edibles and, learn how to do that. I actually have a really fun game called Wildcraft. Does anybody ever play that? This is super fun for kids too, and you can learn what foods are edible and also what, plants are edible and plants that can heal you, so that little kids can learn that from a young age. There's so much food just all over the ground, so that those don't have any transportation miles. We're getting some exercise when we're out there. We're becoming, more familiar with Mother Earth while we're out there. And then we can pass along that knowledge too. It's totally free, so that's fun. And then the limits. Okay, that all sounds great, Cappy, but I can't drive to Grovertown. That was really far from Michigan City. It's 40 miles or whatever. Okay, or I don't have a car. Yes, that would limit you. But can you work with a neighbor? Lisa is my plant. I didn't even know it, but she was in a time bank in Phoenix. Do you guys know anything about time banks? Raise your hand if you know what a time bank is. All right, that just sounds weird, right? Because, here's a bank, and this is for time, and how do you do that? That, does not even make any sense, right? But, okay, here's the deal. If you might say, well, I don't really have time to be doing stuff for other people. You probably do at some point in the year, or if you're going to go shopping anyway, you can do it, and then you can work it out to say, hey, while I'm there, I will also do this for you, and you can earn some time credit, okay? So I just did that when I bought the composter for her. All kinds of options like that. So if you do have time 1 week to go to Groverton to buy stuff, great, or what about at the Quality Beat? Do you ever have stuff that you're like, oh, this is going bad, I need to move it? Awesome. All right, so thank you so much. Well,
something that you do is if you're selling it, you're probably going to repurpose it. You can do that in your house.
Yes, you can do that in your house. The other thing that I do is I run the Northwest Indiana Food Swap. If you've never been to a food swap, that's a lot of fun too. So that if you have a lot of something growing in your yard seasonally, you don't want to eat it like every day for 10 days or 100 days, you can preserve it, or you could dry it, or you could just, plug it and bring it to a food swap. You can do that within the time bank as well. So you can diversify the pantry and come away with something else completely, which is a lot of fun. So anyway, I don't know how well this is really going to work in this setting. We might even want to say, for extra credit, people who want to can stick around and play with it, because I think it's going to be a little like mayhem. But to me, this is really encouraging. Between Project Drawdown, giving us the things to focus on, the Awakening the Dreamer, helping to awaken within us the thing that we want to do, that's ours to do and that we can do, and then this design web that suggests how we can weave ourselves together, and then the time bank basically adds the software that allows for this radical collaboration. This little thing called the internet is pretty handy when we use it responsibly to, make good connections and share good information and collaborate. And it's totally possible. So I am turning 52 this year, so I am definitely now not having kids. That chapter is pretty much like closed, right? But so I am really, really leaning in to that Mother Earth thing. I am a tree hugger. I've been a tree hugger for many years. But I'm going to be 52, and I thought, you know what? There's 52 weeks in the year. So I'm actually doing this Planet Promise 52, and I'm going to, every week, write a blog post, make a video, something that's what I'm doing on my promise. And so I'd love to see that hashtag if anybody wanted to play along, or if you even want to just subscribe to my feed and you can see what I'm doing. If it sounds fun and you want to plug in, we can do that. But you can go to bit.ly/Planet Promise 52, and I won't send you anything besides that, but you're going to get one message from me for 52 weeks. And I want an audience, because in quantum physics, there's this thing that's the observer effect. When somebody's watching you, it changes the outcome, right? So I want that accountability. It's not like I want to do this to be famous. I want the accountability. But also, if I do something good, you're like, oh, she's doing it? I could totally do that. That's not a big deal. That would be awesome. I don't want you to think anything I'm doing is a big deal. I want to do things that everyone can do. So join me in that. And then I want to know, what's next for you? What's your planet promise? It doesn't have to be 52. It can be anything at all. But I think if we want to restore Eden in our time, it's going to take some thinking outside the box. It's going to take some creative solutions. So I just really wanted to cross-pollinate during this event and let you guys know about this really great nonprofit organization right here in Michigan City called the Center for Creative Solutions. And Cindy, Bill, and Kat, you're kind of hiding, right?
Oh, okay.
Now, beside my, they're all three in the time bank, right? So they're willing to basically be paid in time currency for certain things, so you can get some of their creative solutions. Laura, you have native plants, and you have knowledge about native plants, and you like to share them, right? So she wants to give those. If people are trying to get pollinators, since I just mentioned pollinators, she's a monarch mama. She hatches monarchs, and she's got milkweed, and she's just got, I think, the most gorgeous backyard ever. Neighbors might complain. I think it's beautiful for what it's doing for the planet. Other people, I know I'm kind of forgetting, there are people that are knowledgeable about invasive removal. There are ways that we can really, really work together if we know what we're able and willing to do. You don't have to be a professional at it. So I just really like this definition of time bank. It's radical collaboration that just happens to use software to match the human resources of ordinary people to the unmet needs of others. Everybody's hour is of equal value, okay? So you can't differentiate between an 8-year-old kid and a pro bono attorney. Everybody's hour is equal. And that's why it doesn't get taxed, which is pretty cool. No money changes hands for services provided. It builds social capital through reciprocity. For me, I'm looking at that and thinking, that's my true social security. I trust all of you and for me to give you what I need. Like when you look at how mother trees actually feed their young in the forest, and all of you park people maybe can back me up on this or tell me I'm wrong, but they use the mycelium network and the roots underground to send nutrients. They don't hoard it, they share it, you know? And so I think that's really the true model for the sharing economy. And then we've got the internet that helps us, you know, use that for the software for these exchanges. And I think it's just a really beautiful thing what's possible. So the Awakening of the Dreamer, you can take that any time. I really would love you to check out Pachamama Alliance. They don't pay me, I'm a volunteer for them, and it's also totally free. I just think you could really step up your environmental game and find some people all over the world who are plugging in to the solution that you are interested in. They've got a forum that is basically organized around each of those solutions under Project Drawdown, and they're going to be launching that on Earth Day. The Project Drawdown will be launched live on Earth Day. And this is my big dream, is after my 52 weeks of planetary promises, I'm hoping that I'm going to have something that's book-worthy. I've co-authored 7 books now. My last one just came out March 20th, and it hit Amazon #1. And my chapter was entitled Co-Creating Wonderland, and it's about all the stuff that we're talking about. So what I want to do is, you know, again, take these tree whispers that I've been hearing. I actually do get messages from trees. They don't talk out loud, but it's a heart message that I get from them, and I'll tell you more about that over a beer if you'd like. But I do have books. They retail for $20. I'll do the green drinks discount for $15. You know, that just kind of lets me invest in that time when I'm doing volunteer stuff, and that's all I've really got. I'll take questions, or if you really are antsy, I can release you. And the people who want to stick around and do that design web, I just think it's such a fun tool. And I can tell you more about my experience learning from these great teachers in California. They were just fabulous. I really think that this social permaculture is going to be a tool of the future that lets us get out of our silos and learn to speak a universal language of cooperation. You know, really. I might sound like a hippie, but the stuff really works. I mean, you know, it's pretty cool. Anyway, any questions or comments?
Where did you find the pea protein milk?
I got that at Robertson. Yeah. But
Really?
yes, and it was totally free. I actually have been. I saw your hand. I just wanted to make one comment about the pea milk. What I've done is I've actually kind of taken some BU students under my wing because they never seem to really have money. They don't have cars usually either. The girl I'm buying groceries for, she said she was paying like $7 for that at Whole Foods. And it was $0. You know, so she was like very happy. She said she saved like $300 over the last couple months, which now, how much happier would she be to go to a farm stand? She's in Belfast, so she's probably not going to make it to quality meat. But a place like that already is not expensive. I mean, I've shopped there, and they're good prices, you know. But when you're saving that much money, you feel like you can, you know, be more particular and be more intentional with your choices. And yes, ma'am.
I wanted to get I didn't quite get your website, your 52-week thing. When does it start, and how do I find it?
It starts on Earth Day.
Which is today?
It's the 22nd.
Okay.
21st.
April 21st.
When it is. Okay.
Saturday.
All right. It's all automated, so I will.
Where do I go to find
Here
it?
we go. It's
Okay.
bit.ly.
BIT.
Yep. /Planet Promise 52.
What is that? BIT.ly?
Yeah, it's like a link shortener.
Planet
Planet Promise 52.
Okay.
Carl, forwards. I always get that wrong.
Yeah.
I would call it a map.
I know.
I'll try them both if you don't end up on something that looks like that. Yeah. But I would love to see that hashtag around too. If anybody, you know, we talked about it going viral. I would love to see what other people come up with, and let's make some changes and support each other. You know. Yeah. Anybody else?
Next. That's in Valparaiso.
That is
Located in.
You know, if you want to know, I'll tell you more about that. Since I'm in Michigan City, I'll respect the crowd and not bore them with those details. Yeah. Anybody else? Does this make sense to you guys? Do you see how these are actual tools that could be used to tease creativity from your brain? Okay. I wonder, Cindy, if you would like to say a few words just about how you got this week started here, because you were doing it way before the UN, and maybe some opportunities available to folks as well. I know you've got the Fall Forum. We've got other events still this week. You want to stand up, Chief? Okay.
Bill, you're the co-chair. You're the chairperson. He's kind of behind the scenes and kind of quiet person. But this is the 9th year that we have brought Creativity and Innovation Week to our community, and we're always looking to expand it, looking for community partners. We're here to encourage a culture of innovation and creativity. We are just trying to connect with folks like yourselves. As Kathy pointed out, our last part of our events are coming up, and we would hope that maybe you have an opportunity to join us. But also, think about next year, because Creativity and Innovation Week will be starting again. It always starts on the 15th of April, because that is the birthday of Leonardo da Vinci, who, as you know, is very creative. So it's designed to just bring out the creativity and innovation, hopefully help our community recognize how important it is in every aspect of our life, including what you guys are so interested in, as well as economic development, personal happiness, and so on. So it's always a fun time, and Kathy, we want to thank you for the second year in a row.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, that's how I got started with the organization, and I will say great things about the Fall Forum too. I don't know what it will be yet, but this last year it was something called Adobe Kickbox. Has anybody ever heard of Adobe Kickbox? It's a free tool for innovation that Adobe uses internally because, they've been so innovative. They were like, what if we run out of innovation? That would be terrible, So they actually kind of gamed the system to make sure that they weren't going to run out of innovation. They made a kit available to their employees, and they basically made it open source, so anybody can go on there, download it, and go through the steps. It's really great to provide a regimen, for your creativity. Because I'm an ideator, this is another thing I want to say is Cindy is certified in something called Foresight, which helps you understand your strengths and your preferences. Anybody can do anything, but my best thing is thinking of ideas. I'm not the person that you really want to be like crossing all the T's and dotting the I's, because I'll be like, oh, I was too busy having ideas. We've got Carrie on our team. She's a doer. She's like, all right, enough ideas. Well, let's start doing, So it's really good if you can, again, think of the corn, beans, and squash. Like, how can you, once you know what's in the seed package, you can kind of team up with somebody that has that strong support, and somebody else that's going to squash, all the other ideas or whatever, and you can form a good team, So that's been really, really effective in knowing who my teammates are, and we have a lot of fun playing with that. So Cindy will do that program for organizations, or sometimes you offer workshops that are very, very low cost, and she even has made scholarships available for some nonprofits as well. So she's really doing a lot of great work. Anyway, yeah, it's a really cool organization, and more people should know about it. Yeah. So can we get a little creative here? Does anybody want to stick around? I totally want to play in the sandbox, but I want to join you. I don't want to be up here talking. I want to be like, on the table and using this brown wrap paper and drawing design webs or something. But yeah, so does anybody want to share something maybe that they're going to do as a Planet Promise? Or something you're already doing? I mean, I'd love to know. How do you do environmentalism for you?
Okay, well, this is it's not anything spectacular, but so I'm going through my mom's estate, plus I'm going through my stuff for 15 years. And so I shred a lot of the documents and stuff. And I realized that one of my local, I don't know if they all do, but veterinarians will take your shredded paper. So, and I figure nobody's going to mess with that stuff and try to put it back together after it's been used. So I'm thinking this is double security here. And then I have collected so many books, cookbooks especially, but a lot of other books. And so I decided to donate them to my local libraries because they have book sales, and then they can, sell those and buy things for themselves. So, and I'm just trying to find useful homes for things that I have. And then Restore will come and pick up furniture as long as it's in good shape. And then they sell that at their stores, and then they can help people with their renovations and stuff. So those are just some of the things.
And another thing I find a lot of people don't know about is FreeCycle. Do you guys know FreeCycle? Yeah. If you have something that you're like, nobody would want this at the Restore or whatever, like that refrigerant management, it comes back into my mind that was number one. I had a freezer that died, and that should not really go in a landfill, as it is. But I went on FreeCycle, listed it, and a gentleman picked it up to use as feed storage in his barn for his chickens, and it's got a nice seal on it. Totally makes sense. I would have never thought of that. But try there first before you deem it, garbage. It's pretty cool. Yeah, and if you've never been to a landfill, go on a little field trip. It is not pretty, it's not fun, but if you go down to Newton County, you'll see it. I mean, as far as landfills go, it's pretty well run and all that jazz. I'm not going to fault those operators, but it's like 700 plus acres that are never going to have anything really grown on it. You can't build on it. You can't have a well on it. It's just methane burning for 7 years, basically, that's trapped in little cells, and it can't support, any real structure. It could maybe be a park, I don't know, maybe a really challenging golf course where you're golfing uphill. I can't imagine. Yeah, ski hill, if we ever got snow, if the snow ever ends, I don't know. And who knows what it might do next year. But anyhow, if you just think about how to not have stuff going there, I mean, that's a great start. And check out the climate solutions. If anybody wants, I'll be happy. Well, I'll be doing that on the bit.ly Planet Promise 52. I'll be sharing these links anyway. Well, you guys have been a great audience. You have no more questions?
Thank you.
If you're too shy or you just want to stick around and chat, I'll be here. Nancy's going to hang out, and I would love to just know what's on your mind and hear what you're doing. Well, I hope this is what you're looking for.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. It was fun. It was fun. If anybody does want books, I do.
I'm trying to hit finish. I don't know if it's working.
I don't know. Yep.